So Salesforce objects. So we just know we have created the application, right? So the base level template, we prepared it. The base level template, which is called as a application, we have prepared it. But what should need to be visible on this application, we are yet to be decided. Now, what should be visible on this application? In order to display certain data, certain records, first we need to understand what is object. We need to understand what is object and who is providing this, like what are the default objects, but everything we will see. Now let's understand what is the object here. So object is nothing but it's a database table. It's a database table. Basically, we use the object. Object is nothing but a table. And this table is used to store the data. Now, simple example. Now you have an Excel sheet. Right? In the Excel sheet, what is the purpose that you use the Excel sheet? In the Excel sheet, you will store certain data. You will store certain data here. That means in order to store the data, you are using the Excel sheet. So similarly, in order to store the data in proper format, you will be using the object. So here Excel is nothing but an object. Table is nothing but an object. So these all are, the purpose of table, the purpose of object is to store the certain data within the table or within the Excel sheet is what is nothing but an object. Now, why we use it? To store the specific data in correct format. We will store the data in the correct format to validate and what are the validated information is there. In order to store the validated information, validated data, if you want to store it in certain place, that certain place is called as a object in Salesforce. Now, how we will be able to see the objects? Go to the setup. Now you have to go to the setup. Click on this icon, setup. There are two ways you can see the objects. One is once you land onto the setup object, directly you can see here object manager, where all the object information will be available. Or else go to the home page and search for an object. Search for object manager, which is available here within the objects and fields. That will be by default redirected to the object manager. So whatever you can see here, label is nothing but these are the objects, and these objects are the standard objects. These objects are the standard objects. Whatever the label you can see, these are called objects. These are tables. Tables or objects. Account object. We say account object. Activity object. Asset object. Right? So what are the objects? What are the names are available here? Everything we call it as a object. In Salesforce, it's a object. Now, whenever there is an object, so basically we have two types of objects. In Salesforce, we have two types of objects. So Salesforce has two types of object. One is a standard object, another one is custom object. Salesforce has two types of object. One is standard object and custom object. Custom object. Standard object and custom object. Now, standard objects are provided by the Salesforce. All the standard objects are default objects. These are default objects, out of the box object, which is provided by the Salesforce. Which is provided by the Salesforce. Custom objects are created by either admin or developer. Admin or developer. We will be creating these custom objects either by admin or a developer based on the requirement. So here object is nothing but object represents a table. Right. So these are the two objects are available. One is a standard object and custom object. Now, whatever you can see by default on the org level, like once the org is created, you will be able to see all the objects, and these objects, what are the type of objects. By default, it will be the standard objects. By default, it will be standard objects. The object. Salesforce custom object. Now the second type is custom object. Now, what is this custom object? So far, we have seen the standard object. Now, what is a custom object? Custom objects are implemented by the either admin team or a developer team based on the requirement. There is a requirement, let's say that they wanted to create a position object. For recruitment app, they wanted to create a position object. Or for insurance application, they wanted to create a employees details. Employees object they wanted to create it. So these employees and position object we do not have by default in the Salesforce. Now, if you want to create, first of all, when I created this custom object, what will happen at the backend? Now, let's see here. So custom objects are, like as I have mentioned, it will be created by admin or a developer based on the requirement to store the data in the application. Now, custom objects can be removable. I can delete the custom objects. I can delete the custom objects, but I cannot delete the standard objects. If I go to the object manager and if I open this option account, if I click on this account, I do not have a delete option. Standard objects, we cannot delete it. Only the one which we are creating, only the one which developer or a admin is creating, only those objects can be deleted. So whenever we are creating a custom object, now how do I identify which one is a standard object, which one is a custom object? So let's say you are creating the branch or a customer or a policy or a claim. These are the objects that you are creating it. Whenever you create these objects, custom objects are always ends with __C. So the difference that you will be able to identify whether it is a standard object or a custom object, you will be looking at this ending part of it. So for a branch, if you are creating a branch custom object, branch will be created as branch __C. Wherever you see __C, that means it is a custom object and custom object. If __C is not there, then that means that is a standard object. Now similarly, customer. If you are creating a customer __C. And if you are creating a policy custom object, then it will end up with policy __C. If you are creating a claims object, it will end up with claim __C. So this is the label name and this is the API name. Now this is whatever __C is nothing but these are the API names. These are API names. And whatever the name you are giving it, it is a label name. Object label, object API name. Now, let's assume that I'm going to create an object which is called as a customer. When I'm creating an object as a customer, what happens at the back end? What are the automation that gets executed by the Salesforce? What is Salesforce is doing it? No, simply I'll go to, first of all, how do I create a custom object? We have to go to the object manager, and here we have a create button, and I'll click on custom object. I'll click on custom object. When I click on a custom object, I will be able to create a custom object. Now, when I create a custom object, what happens at the back end? Whenever we are creating a custom object and the object name, I'm specifying it as a customer. Now automatically Salesforce convert that customer object to the customer underscore C, which is a API name. And there is a table that is stored with the customer underscore C. Table is gets stored with the underscore C, customer underscore C in the database. And whenever the table is created, whenever the object is created, by default, Salesforce is creating the some fields, 5 fields it is creating it. ID, name, owner, created by, last modified by. These are the 5 fields. By default, Salesforce is going to create it on the creation of object. That means whenever the object is created, the first thing is that table gets created in the database, and the database table name is whatever the object name is, their object name underscore C, which is same as the API name of the object. And whenever the table is created, object is created at the backend, immediately it will create a fields. ID, name, owner, created by, last modified by. Now, along with this, it also creates a user interface. It also creates a user interface. That means now I have created the table in the database.com. So this is in the database.com. We have a database.com. In the database.com, it created the table. Now, once the table is created, also we need it for user to see. For user to see, which is nothing but a user interface. Now, for the user interface, it will create a tab, customer tab. And the fields which we are going to see by default, customer name and the owner. Owner will be disabled. Owner will be disabled. And we'll have a by default save and cancel button. Save and cancel button is there. Now this is as soon as the object is created, fields gets created, table will be created, and user interface. Based on your selection, user interface is also created. When the user clicks on that new button, then it will open up this screen. And in this screen, only 2 fields I can see. There are total 5 fields are there at the back end. But on the creation of the record, only 2 fields I can see. Customer name, customer owner. Owner will be grayed out. You cannot edit the owner. Only you can enter the name. Now, once it is click on a save, what should happen? Now I'm entering some data here. Let's say I'm entering the Sweta. Now I'm entering the data here, which is called as a Sweta. Now, when I enter and click on a save, what should happen? There is in the table, the data should be created, right? So here name is Sweta. So it should be created the record inside the database. Now, how this is going to happen? Salesforce is implemented at the backend. Whenever you click on a save button, they have implemented a business logic. They have implemented, Salesforce is implemented business logic. So that means whenever the object is created, at the same time, business logic also automatically gets created at the backend. And this business logic name is same as the object name. So whenever you click on a save button, it will send the data to the, it will validate and send the data to the customer table. And in the customer table, the data will be created here. The data will be created here, which is name called Sweta. And whenever the record is created, now here the ID gets generated. This is 18-digit ID. 18-digit ID, if it is a lightning, if it is a classic, it will be a 15-digit. Classic, it will have a 15-digit. Classic. And in lightning, it will be 18-digit. The ID is automatically generated by the Salesforce. We do not have a access that how to generate an ID. Everything is done by the ID. But only the thing you can identify is ID. If it is a 18-digit ID, first 3 digits are object name. First 3 digits are object name plus next 15-digit is actual ID details. Or everything happens at the backend. Now let me create a one object. Object which is called as a, let's say I'm creating position object. Positions. This is a single and this is a plural. So if you have an account, if you have given the label name is an account, This is plural. And the object name. And here the data type, I'm giving a text. There are two data types are there, text and auto number. Right now I'm specifying the text. We will see that later. Allow reports, that means you wanted to generate a reports. Do you want to access the activities, track the field history, allow charter group. And then I'm going to say allow search, add notes and attachment. Tab, that means user interface. To create a user interface, you need to enable this checkbox. Click on save. Once it is saved, then it will ask you the tab. I'll say here position, and the tab style is, let's give any icon. It's not mandatory that you have to choose specific one. So click on this next. And click on the next button. And click on save. The API name is created, position __ C. Position __ C. Now, like this, how many I can create the custom objects? How many custom objects can I create it? If it is a developer edition, you can create a 200 custom objects. If it is a developer edition, you can create a 200 custom object. If it is a paid edition, then you can create 2000 custom objects. 2000 custom objects. If it is a free edition, that means if it is a developer edition, 200. If it is a paid edition, that means it is in real time. We created 2000 custom objects. Now take an assignment, create a custom object with the name called player. Object name is player. Now here what you will be doing is create a custom object without checking the checkbox called launch a new custom tab wizard after saving it. Whatever the last checkbox is there, do not check that. Do not check that, just create an object. Now you will see the difference there. And the next one is create another object which is called as a games. Just create a game and by default enable all the checkboxes. And I have given the YouTube link where I have explained it clearly. And few of the interview questions. Like
Ma'am,
what
can
is
you go back? Sorry, can you go back to the second assignment?
Yeah.
Okay. Just thank you. Also.
Yeah. So next interview question is like a few interview questions. Like what is object? And what is different type of objects in Salesforce.com? Right? Whenever we are creating an object, how many fields can be created by Salesforce? What is object ID? Provide few examples. Can we delete standard object? How to rename the standard object? We are yet to see this, how to rename it, but we will see. And how many objects can be created in free version? How many objects can be created in the enterprise edition? Enterprise edition is nothing but a paid edition. So what are the objects we have? So what are the objects we have created? Now, like a Salesforce is created. Now we have these many objects, right? Around 200, 103 plus items are available, which is almost 200 plus. Right, so we have so many objects are there. That means I have so many tables. I have so many tables are there. Or else I can say here, so many Excel sheet. Just take an example of Excel sheet. I have created for my work, I have created almost 100 Excel sheets I have created. 100 Excel sheets I have created. When I created the 100 Excel sheet, I need to give a proper name to these sheets. Otherwise, I will get a confused which sheet do I need to open after a certain time of period. And if I have to store customer data, which Excel sheet do I need to open? If I have to store the patient information, which Excel sheet I need to open? I will be getting confused, right? So in that case, what I'll do, I'll give a proper name to it. We will give a name, which is going to inform me whenever I'm opening the Excel sheet, it is going to inform me that this is a patient related information stored in this Excel sheet. Similarly, in the Salesforce, we have around 200 plus standard objects are there. We have 200 plus standard objects are there. Now, when we have 200 plus standard objects, how Salesforce is maintaining it? How Salesforce is maintaining it? If I have to provide person details, which is a contact information. Now, if I open the contact object and if I fill the certain data in the contact, how does Salesforce know that I need to store only in the contact object? Or I need to store only in the account object. How does the Salesforce is going to store? So Salesforce is going to have something called object ID. Something called object ID. So based on this object ID, Salesforce is implemented a certain automation. Certain automation they have implemented. So whenever you enter the data or you create a record in contact object or in account object, based on this object ID, they will be creating the data within the same object. Now let's see some examples of the object ID. Now here, let's say object ID. Now the object ID is, we have a campaign. Campaign is nothing but if I'm creating a record in campaign, then it has to be there in the 701. It has to be there in the 701. Now, if it is a lead object, it will be starting with 00Q. These are the object ID. If it is an account, it starts with 001. Now, who will be deciding this ID? Salesforce is going to decide it. There is some automation which is implemented to create a object ID. Now, contact is 003, opportunity is 006, case is 500, solution is 501, user is a 005. Now, the first question, do I need to remember all these objects, IDs? No need to remember all these objects. The reason is, when you go to the Salesforce, now if you open any record, let's say this is the account record. If I open any record, now, on the top URL level, you have some 18-digit ID will be there. If you copy this 18-digit ID, now let's say here in this 18-digit ID, if you look at the first three digits is going to reflect the object ID. The first three digits are object ID, right? So, like based on this ID, now Salesforce is going to add this first three digits as the object ID. Then after that, plus we have a record ID. Object ID plus record ID, which is nothing but in the Excel sheet name plus in the sheet we have a row, the row number, right? Which is nothing but a object ID plus record ID. So that exactly it will be available on the URL object ID. So every object you have, if you go to the contact, in the contact also, if you open any record, now this is on the contact level. If you copy this, go to the paint. Now here, the first three digits are going to talk about which object. Now Salesforce is not going to look for a contact. Words, it will not look contact or a lead or an account. No, it will not look for that. So what it is going to look, it is going to update or it is going to use this IDs. Based on these IDs, it is going to store the data. Based on this ID, it is going to store the data. Now, if you have created the records, In that record, it is going to check what is the first 3 digits. Okay, it is a 003. 003 means go and store it into the contact object. So that's about the object ID plus record ID.